This video contains the topics of murder, death, and violence and is not for all audiences. View at your own discretion.
Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo, also known as Saint Toribio Mongrovejo, was a prominent figure in the history of the Catholic Church, particularly in the evangelization and administration of the Church in Latin America during the 16th century. Here's a brief biography of this revered saint. Turibius was born on November 16, 1538, in Marioga de Campos in Spain. He was born to a noble family named Alonso Mongrovejo and Maria Toribia. Turibius received his education at the University of Salamanca, where he studied law and theology. He excelled academically and displayed a strong devotion to his studies. After completing his studies, Turibius practiced law in Spain and rose to prominence as a legal scholar and advisor to the Spanish crown. Despite his success in law, Turibius felt a call into the priesthood. He was ordained as a priest in 1578 after his appointment as the Bishop of Lima. In 1578, Turibius was appointed by King Philip II of Spain to serve as the Archbishop of Lima, Peru, despite his initial reluctance. Upon his arrival in Lima, Turibius faced numerous challenges, including lack of clergy, widespread poverty, and social injustice amongst the indigenous population of the country. Despite the challenges, Turibius embarked on a series of reforms aimed at improving the spiritual and material conditions of the people under his pastoral care. He convened synods and councils to address issues such as clerical discipline, religious education, and the treatment of indigenous peoples. Turibius also traveled extensively throughout the archdiocese, often on foot, to visit remote villages and minister to the needs of the people. He established hospitals, schools, and orphanages to provide care and education to those in need. Turibius worked tirelessly to defend the rights of indigenous peoples against exploitation and abuse by the Spanish colonists. Turibius died on March 23rd in 1606 in Lima, Peru, at the age of 67. Turibius was canonized as a saint by Pope Benedict XIII in 1726. In recognition of his holiness, humility, and tireless efforts to promote the welfare of the Church and the people of Peru. His feast day is celebrated on March 23rd each year. Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo is the patron saint of Peru, Latin American bishops, and indigenous peoples. Saint Turibius Mongrovejo is remembered as a tireless missionary, pastor, and advocate for social justice, whose life and example continues to inspire Christians around the world. The iconography of Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo, like that of many saints, often includes symbolic elements that represent aspects of his life, ministry, and spiritual significance. Here are some of the details commonly found in depictions of Saint Turibius. Saint Turibius is typically depicted wearing the traditional attire of a bishop, which includes a mitre, or the bishop's hat, and a cope, the liturgical cloak. This signifies his role as Archbishop of Lima and his leadership within the church. In many images, Saint Turibius is shown holding a pastoral staff, also known as a crozier. This staff symbolizes his pastoral care and authority as a bishop, as well as his role in guiding and shepherding the faithful. Saint Turibius is often depicted also holding a book or scroll representing his dedication to scholarship, education, and the dissemination of religious teachings. This also highlights his role in promoting religious education and literacy among the indigenous peoples of Peru. Some depictions of Saint Turibius include indigenous people or scenes of him ministering to the native population of Peru. This reflects his efforts to evangelize and serve the indigenous communities, as well as his advocacy for their rights, and well-being. Saint Turibius is sometimes depicted carrying a walking stick or staff, symbolizing his humility, simplicity, and willingness to travel long distance on foot to fulfill his pastoral duties. This emphasizes his dedication to serving the marginalized and reaching remote communities. In certain depictions, Saint Turibius may be shown wearing a crown of thorns, symbolizing his identification with the suffering of Christ and his willingness to endure hardship and persecution for the sake of his faith and ministry. Like all saints, Saint Turibius is often depicted with a halo, symbolizing his holiness and spiritual enlightenment as a follower of Christ. These elements of Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo iconography collectively convey his identity as a bishop, missionary, educator, and advocate for social justice, highlighting the key aspects of his life and legacy within the Catholic Church. Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo is associated with several miracles, both during his lifetime and posthumously, which contributed to his reputation for holiness and led to his eventual canonization as a saint. Here's a brief description of some of the notable miracles attributed to Saint Turibius. Saint Turibius was believed to have possessed the gift of healing. Numerous accounts associated with him of miraculous curings of the sick and afflicted through his prayers and intercession. These healings often occurred during his pastoral visits to remote villages and among the indigenous populations of Peru. One of the most famous miracles associated with Saint Turibius occurred during his tenure as Archbishop of Lima. According to tradition, a child had died in the womb of his mother. The distraught mother brought the lifeless body of her child to Turibius, who prayed fervently for the child's resurrection. Miraculously, the child came back to life to the amazement and joy of all present. There are accounts of Saint Turibius miraculously multiplying bread to feed the hungry on multiple occasions. In one instance, it is said that he blessed a meager amount of food, which was then distributed among a large group of people. Yet, it was more than sufficient to satisfy everyone's hunger. Saint Turibius is also credited with calming storms through his prayers. It's said that on several occasions, when dangerous storms threatened ships at sea, sailors invoked the intercession of Saint Turibius, and the storms abated, ensuring their safe passage. Even after his passing, Saint Turibius continued to be associated with miracles. Countless stories existed of individuals who have experienced healings and other extraordinary interventions after praying to Saint Turibius for his intercession. These miracles, among others, have contributed to Saint Turibius's reputation as a saintly figure, endowed with divine favor and power. They serve as testimony to his holiness, compassion, and unwavering faith in God, inspiring believers to seek his intercession in times of need. The process of canonization, or the declaration of sainthood, for Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo followed the typical stages established by the Catholic Church. Here's a brief overview of the process. The process typically begins at the diocesan level, where the local bishop initiates an investigation into the life, virtues, and reputation for holiness of the individual in question, in this case, Turibius of Mongrovejo. After the bishop's approval, the candidate is given the title Servant of God, indicating that the initial phase of investigation has begun. If the diocesan investigation finds sufficient evidence of heroic virtue, the case is then forwarded to the Vatican's Congregation for the Causes of Saints. The congregation reviews the evidence and, if satisfied, recommends to the Pope that the candidate be declared as venerable, recognizing their heroic virtues. This step does not involve the validation of miracles, but rather it focuses on the candidate's personal sanctity and virtuous life. To proceed to beatification, one miracle must be attributed to the intercession of the venerable candidate, and it will be investigated as well as confirmed. This miracle is typically a miraculous healing. After the confirmation of the miracle, the candidate is declared as blessed by the Pope in a beatification ceremony. The beatification allows for limited veneration in specific regions or communities associated with the candidate. For canonization, a second miracle attributed to the intercession of the blessed candidate must be investigated and confirmed. The miracle undergoes similar scrutiny and investigation as the first. Upon confirmation of the second miracle, the Pope canonizes the blessed candidate as a saint in a canonization ceremony. Canonization formally recognizes the individual as a saint and allows their veneration by the Universal Church. Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo was declared venerable by the Pope Urban VIII in 1609, recognizing his heroic virtues. He was beatified by Pope Innocent XI on April 11, 1679, after the confirmation of one miracle attributed to his intercession. Saint Turibius was canonized as saint by Pope Benedict XIII on December 10, 1726, following the confirmation of a second miracle. His feast day is celebrated on March 23rd each year. The process of canonization for Saint Turibius of Mongrovejo reflects the careful examination of his life, virtues, and miracles leading to this eventual recognition as a saint in the Catholic Church.